Fuego. I'm Starla, and in this episode of Let's Talk Land, we're digging deeper into the Matrimonial Real Property Rights on Reserves Act. We traveled to Reserve number 47, the territory of the Lakawit, also known as the Delaware Nation. The 13 square kilometer reserve is home to approximately 500 band members, with an off-reserve population that's equal to or greater than those actually living on the reserve. It's a proud nation, but like other Onkwehonwe nations, they've also experienced the crushing impact of colonization, the lack of adequate housing, poor socioeconomic opportunity, and firsthand experiences of every other social determinant of health that are all too familiar amongst our nations. The same with religion, specifically Christianity, was most likely adopted as a means of survival for the Lakawit. However, one man began a journey to revive his nation's traditional practices and customs and bring them back directly from their homelands. The following is Mr. Fisher's case. Names have been changed for privacy. We know that Mr. Fisher built a home for his wife and children. He also made a traditional big house right next to his home for the community to revive their ancient lifeways safely. His marriage broke down and they separated, and at the same time, he noticed his health was starting to decline. Not quite a year later, the family alleges a non-band member entered a relationship with Mr. Fisher around the same time he had lost his father. It was after his father's death that Mr. Fisher discovered that he'd accidentally built on the wrong property, and he had only found this out after his father's estate had been read. Fortunately for him, the land was owned by a compassionate relative of his. After some discussion, he could remain on the property to continue the cultural revival efforts. At the same time, his relationship with the non-band member became common law. But his health continued to deteriorate, and unfortunately, Mr. Fisher passed away several months ago. In addition, his family was charged with advising his partner that she could not continue occupancy for more than a few months, since Mr. Fisher did not actually own the land where he had built his house. Now, family members report that since Mr. Fisher's passing, access to the ceremonial house has been restricted entirely, with police involvement becoming a regular occurrence. We reached out to the late Mr. Fisher's partner, who identifies as a non-status member of the Woodland Métis tribe, and she denies ever having restricted access to any ceremonial homes. Yet heavily armed police attended a two-spirit gathering that took place about 50 feet from the matrimonial house. She has since chosen not to answer any further questions, and we respected that. The elected chief and council did release a statement suggesting that they were forced to follow for federal provisional laws. However, the act does not have any provisions for property owned by individuals who are not in the marriage or a common law relationship. It does, however, specify that ceremonial or cultural houses are excluded from matrimonial real property rights. We left 2 messages for the band council, but we didn't receive a returned call. But if you want more information on this subject, visit yagowenascots.ca to find the accompanying story. Nyawagoa!